Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today I will tell you about homeostasis. Homeostasis is a process which occurs in living organisms to maintain the normal activities of life. Homeo means same, stasis means keeping, or you may say also to keep. So by word literally, homeostasis means keeping the same. What to keep the same, what is kept in homeostasis the same is the internal conditions of the organisms. Internal conditions of the cells, the tissues, the organs, the systems and all over the organisms, when they are kept the same, this process will be known as homeostasis. There are various ways for homeostasis to be maintained, for the normal functioning of an organism to be carried out at a regular time. And depending upon this very process, first I will tell you some examples, then we go into details. Homeostasis is exemplified by thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is an example of homeostasis. It is an example of homeostasis. Thermo means temperature. It is very best example of homeostasis. Thermo means temperature, and regulation means maintaining, regulating. Maintaining the temperature of the organisms the same, which is usual for an organism to function normally, is known as thermoregulation. For example, the optimum temperature for the proper functioning of the cells and the tissues in the living organisms in most of the mammals, for example humans, is 37 degrees Celsius. Humans and all the organisms related to humans like other mammals, higher mammals, primates, etc., they maintain their body temperature at 37 degrees Celsius all the time. This process in them is known as thermoregulation, which is an example, a way, a method, a procedure of the cells or the organisms to maintain their homeostasis at a steady rate, at a continuous rate, to not to stop it. Many other examples like the osmoregulation, the excretion and hormonal control, as well as control of the calcium ions in the body and potassium ions in the body. Various other processes are also being carried out all the time in all the organisms to maintain their homeostasis at a balanced rate, at a required rate. And now, because I told you that I will explain the homeostasis further, first I will give you example that I have given to you. Now I will go into the details of the process. Homeostasis is a basic criteria to differentiate the organisms, because depending upon the process of how to maintain the homeostasis, how organism maintain homeostasis, depending upon this very criteria, there are two types of the organisms. One type of the organisms are known as homeotherms, and the other type of the organisms are known as homeoconformers. Homeotherms and homeoconformers are two types of the organism depending upon the process of homeostasis. Homeotherms and homeoconformers, there are two types of the organism generally depending upon this process. Homeotherms means whose body temperature changes according to the temperature of the environment. For example, if it is a 40 degrees Celsius hot day, then the body temperature, the internal temperature of the organism will also be 40 degrees Celsius. They will be termed as homeo means same, therm means heat or temperature. When the temperature of the body of the organism get same to the temperature of the environment, then it will be termed as homeotherms. And homeoconformers that we talk about, that conform means change according to. When some organism changes according to the temperature, they maintain their internal condition to change to save themselves with an increasing temperature or decreasing temperature, which adjust themselves according to the temperature. They are known as homeoconformers. For example, if the day is 47 degrees Celsius hot, which is too much hot, the mammals and the other animals release the sweat, large amount of water from their body, which carry heat from the body and result in a cooling effect to reduce the temperature to the normal or 37 degrees Celsius. Thus, homeoconformers change their temperature, no, and homeotherms change their temperature according to the environment. Homeoconformers do not change their temperature, they maintain their temperature, they keep their temperature despite changes in the environment, like humans are. And homeotherms change their body temperature according to the environment. Now we go into the further detail of the other processes which are described in the example of homeostasis. First, I have described thermoregulation. Thermoregulation means maintenance of the internal condition, in particular the temperature at a steady rate, 37 degrees Celsius, despite changes in the external environment. It is very much crucial for organisms to maintain their thermoregulation in a way to maintain their homeostasis by thermoregulation. How do they do so? It is a great topic. Homeostasis, in particular the thermoregulation, is controlled by a part of the brain which is known as hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part, a structure, an area in the brain which controls the process of thermoregulation. That is why hypothalamus is also called thermostat of body. This structure, this part of the brain, doesn't allow the temperature of the body to increase too much or to decrease too much. For example, when there are hot days, there are chances to become our body overheated, but it is not done because hypothalamus allows the more production of sweat, which when evaporated causes any cooling effect and thereby making the temperature not change, not increase from 37 degrees Celsius. Instead, the temperature of the body is kept always 37 degrees Celsius. When the cold days are, when it is very much chill around you, when it is winter, your body temperature doesn't lose too much, it doesn't decrease too much, it does not even decrease, it remains at 37 degrees Celsius, it doesn't decrease a bit even. And this is because of the hypothalamus. It sends the signal to the parts of the body to release more urine, more water in the urine, and less water in the urine, more sweat or less sweat accordingly with the weather in the hot or cold. With respect to the weather, it changes the production of the sweat and the fats and oils, etc. When we are living in a hot environment, there is more production of sweat and it results in cooling effect. When we are living in the cold environment, there is less production of the sweat, instead more production of the urine and more production of the urine, which results in the loss of the water from the body. Also, it results in the production of more sebum, more fat, more oil on the skin, which absorbs the very low temperatures and acts as an insulator to not to allow the extremities of the temperature to damage or to change the internal temperature of the body of the organisms. In particular, we're talking about humans, as is in your book is written about this. Now another example of the homeostasis, thermoregulation, I think you might have understood. Another example of the process which is used to maintain the homeostasis in living organisms is osmoregulation. This is the first example, and osmoregulation is another example described in your book, Homeostasis. Osmoregulation means the balance of the osmolality. It will also be discussed. You may also call it as osmolality. Balance of the osmolality means the Balance of the osmotic pressure. What is the osmotic pressure? I mean the pressure exerted by the water and fluids which are present in the living organisms, in all the living organisms, is balanced. A particular amount of water is required for cells to operate normally, and when it is more than that, then it will be dangerous. More than normal of anything is devastating, and it is true also in osmoregulation. In the process of osmoregulation, the fluids and water content, as well as the salts and solutes which are present, which are dissolved in the water and other fluids, are kept at balance. They are not increased too much, nor they are decreased too much. For example, if there is too much water, the cells may become over swollen, and in particular animal cells can burst, can be ruptured, which results in the death of the cells. So osmoregulation doesn't allow too much fluid to be remained in the cells, rather it results in the decrease of the concentration of the fluids, for example water, to get out of the cells and to maintain the normal homeostasis of the organism at a normal rate. Osmoregulation also means the balance of the ions, balance of the salts, balance of the various dissolved substances which are present in the fluids, which are present in particular major fluid in the living organism. In the mammals there is water, so the balance of the water, not to decrease the water in the body of the organism, not to increase the concentration too much than the normal, because too much concentration of the water in the cell will be called dropsy, which will result in the rupturing of the cell. Too less concentration of the water in the cell, which will be called dehydration, will also cause the cell to die. And because there must be a balance, there must be not too much, not too less, but at a median line, at a median line, at a balanced rate, for the homeostasis to be maintained by another process, that is osmoregulation. Another aspect, or another example of how how homeostasis is maintained in living organisms, in particular humans, is excretion. Excretion means the loss of the excreta. Our wastes are known as excreta. Our wastes are of two types. There are solid wastes which come out of anus, and there are liquid waste which is called urine, and it comes out of the urethra. We are talking about here about urethra in particular, and also about our skin, which also plays an excretory role to an extent. Excretion results when you are having your nitrogenous waste in your body, and they are not going out of your body. You are not peeing them, or you are not pooing them, or you are not pooping them. Then the pH of your body will be changed, because the waste results in the acidity or basicity in our body, and when there is no normal pH in the body, there will be no proper functioning of the enzymes, because enzymes require a proper optimum temperature for themselves to work properly. So excretion is another milestone in the homeostasis maintenance. And excretion means, X means out, excretion means release of the waste outside of the body is called excretion. And this was our topic, just an introduction to the homeostasis. Other details I will discuss to you further later on, when tomorrow. I want to say Allah Hafiz.